The Big 12 Experience Week 4 Power Rankings edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the Big 12 College Experience. Week 4, we've already 3 weeks in the books, and, well, we're cooking up some conference play. We do have a conference game in the books. We'll recap week number 3, which was, of course, an eventful, for the most part, good for the league overall, with the exception of 2 teams, Kansas and West Virginia. We'll talk about it on the other side, but first off, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And joining me to talk Big 12 football, well, a guy that's he's always fighting a family civil war. He's got a big one in Stillwater this weekend. He also is in Waco, Fort Worth, Orlando, Cincinnati, even Tucson. You guys know him as the green mowing, weed growing, Big 12 guru, a.k.a. Troy Chewning. Troy, what's up, man? How was the golf trip?
Back from Orlando. Golf trip was fun. Smoked everybody. I think the closest somebody got to me was 7 strokes, which was kind of scary, but it was also that guy's lowest round of the year at 81. So congrats to my boy Seth. He's broken 80 a few times before, but it's been probably about a year with him working and not playing golf where he shot that well. So I feel like I brought the best out of him. Got to play a super nice course yesterday that's typically like a $220 a round or something. Mm-hmm. But they had an aeration discount from 2 weeks ago. They punched 2 weeks ago, and it was still discounted. I guess maybe it was so wet down there. A lot of the holes were car path only. And when you got the old tourist guys out there, they just won't even play if there's 2 holes that are car path only. Nah, we're not even going to play 18. Screw all that. So it was nice. There was barely anybody out there. Got my shoes all muddy, but shot pretty dang well, and got sunburn all over my face. Typical trip to Florida, you know. Sad that UCF wasn't in town. I would have liked to go to that game against TCU if it was in the bounce house, but man, I guess we can start it off right there. I mean, we had some earlier games than that, but
I think we should, because it's the first official conference game we do have had, or I can't talk. We've had
conference games, but they're non-conference games. Yeah,
exactly. And so I don't know. What's your thoughts on UCF coming back from, what did they battle? They battled back from 31-10, I believe, to grind this thing out 35-34. Exciting game. I mean, what a win for the Knights on the road in Fort Worth, and what, of course, was going to be an entertaining game like we thought.
I mean, they blocked 3 kicks, right? They were up 21 and they had 3 block kicks in a game, and UCF found a way to win. And I mean, KJ didn't look great, but he didn't throw the ball to the other team. He still amassed a pretty good amount of yards with some of their yak and whatnot. But if you're going to let RJ Harvey just gash you, UCF's in good position to beat anybody if they're going to get, you know. How many carries did he have? 29 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, and a lot of it there in the last, 20 minutes or so of the game, just getting worn down and letting big physical RJ Harvey take over is, I mean, that's exactly what UCF wants to do. And TCU kind of fell into that trap, and they probably still should have won the game, but, 1 point and UCF is still alive, not looking like, a mid-tier Big 12 team. They're pushing for the top right now.
No, they passed the eye test. I mean, that rushing attack for UCF is big time. So they go to 1-0.
Not a great game, but that's another one of those, like, if it was Abilene Christian, you would say this has to count as a loss. But since it's a TCU conference game on the road, sneaking out by 1 point with a 21-point deficit is a good game for sure.
Absolutely. The other game, the other Big 12 game, was Friday night, K-State over Arizona. It doesn't count in the Big 12 standings, but I think we can separate who's a Big 12 contender versus a Big 12 pretender. Agree?
Yeah, Arizona, I mean, they still have a shot to, have a few games where their offense blows up and maybe it can carry them to a couple of upsets here. But it looks like they're going to settle into, one of those high or middle tier spots and probably beat some of the bad teams and lose some games that you're not really expecting and maybe win one or two that would be considered upsets. But I mean, you've been saying it all year. The defense for Arizona is just not enough for them. If their offense isn't going to amass, 500 yards, that defense doesn't really give them a chance at all. And we kind of saw them get handled by a team that probably had this one circled for a while, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. K-State made a statement, and stay tuned. I think we're both going to have them at the top or right near the top of our rankings here. Real quick on the other side. Well, first we got to talk about the war against corporate gambling is heating up, and SGPN needs you to do your part. Take a couple seconds, rate and review the college experience, the Big 12 college experience for you Big 12 fans. And most importantly, tell a friend, tell your cousin, tell everybody, word of mouth, the heartbeat of SGPN. All right, Troy, those were the two ones I wanted to highlight. Thursday night, just run through these. Thursday night, Arizona State gets a huge win in San Marcos. They run the table in Big 12 play 31-28. Shout out to Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils. KU, bad loss.
That would be non-con play, everyone. They haven't.
Yep.
They have not a Big 12 game yet, but.
Yeah, and no, all good. KU, second half debacle against UNLV. They fall 30 or 23-20, setting up a shit show game in Morgantown this weekend because West Virginia, I can't even explain that loss. That was embarrassing the way that they collapsed down the stretch against a below average Pitt team. They fall to 1-2. They have not beat an FBS team. So you have 2 1-2 teams in Morgantown, West Virginia versus Kansas this weekend. Texas Tech finally wakes up, makes a statement, 66-21. Your Oklahoma State Cowboys make a big-time statement, sets up a showdown with Utah this upcoming weekend. They roll against Utah State 38-21. Cincinnati takes back the bell in the Battle of Ohio. They get it done against the Redhawks. Baylor continues to roll 31-3. Houston finally in the win column 33-7. Colorado flexes their muscles, I guess, against a bad Colorado State team. And maybe the most quietly impressive team is BYU. They go to Laramie and beat the hell out of them. Troy, any of those games stand out? Any of the results stand out from this past weekend?
Well, I know Wyoming is now 0-3, and they're not the same team as they were the last few years. But you play a night game in Laramie, and you go in there as an 11-point favorite and just stomp them out and control the game from the opening kickoff. That's still pretty impressive. You got to think, with some of the poor tackling that I've seen, BYU is going to have a shot to win a lot of these games with just, very sound fundamental defense and not a great offense, but, make guys earn it. Don't give up 7-yard slants for 75-yard TDs. And, probably wish you had like Arizona's offense with BYU's defense right now. That would be, I know Arizona's offense hasn't looked the best, but it feels as if they know they've got to push it because their defense isn't that great, whereas BYU's playing the other way around. They know they can just slow the game down and control it and really lean on that Jay Hill defense. They do look pretty impressive. Definitely expected Oklahoma State to cover. That one wasn't shocking. Utah didn't cover, but, with a backup quarterback, they still looked pretty good and remained in control. I'm sure a lot of people were shocked at that UNLV one, but I told you guys that was a money line play all day with how many points that UNLV has scored and how dog shit Kansas has looked.
Oh,
And then they come out there and Jalen throws more picks. So
what is wrong?
Has had multiple interceptions in every game this year. So not good. Looking like Alan Bowman and past Alan Bowman. Whereas this week kind of took advantage of Tulsa. But it was good to see Texas Tech actually come out and stomp a North Texas team that they probably should. I don't know they kind of dressed it up with the little 3-touchdown scramble spree that they had in like a minute and 10 seconds or whatever. But again, Baylor 31-3 against Air Force. I know they were pretty heavy favorites, but
taking care of business.
I think Colorado might use the hype from, this is kind of a bullshit. Look, Colorado is actually okay kind of a game. Colorado State stinks this year. And yeah, we'll see. I don't know if Colorado might not be a bottom tier team, but if they're not, then they're at the bottom of the next tier up at best, I think. Shout out to Willie Fritz getting his first win for Houston too against Rice. Again, kind of expected that, but it's nice to get the first one out of the way. They do. I kind of want to give them some credit for sticking with Oklahoma too. That's I feel as if a team like Pitt or someone played Oklahoma would find a way to win that game. So it's kind of impressive that they went to Norman and didn't get their ass handed to them. So there's a lot of kind of as we expected. There's going to be a lot of jumble in the middle of the Big 12 here. The way we do our power rankings, you might see teams go up and down like 4 or 5 spots every week. Just because of the other teams around them will have a chance to get, an impressive win or something like that. But yeah, we're starting to see our jumble up here already in the middle of the rankings, and probably will, see a couple of teams drop pretty heavy.
Oh yeah.
Looking at you, Kansas.
They're not the only one. They're not the only one. I mean, they didn't, as bad as Kansas was against UNLV. West Virginia was the worst loss of the weekend. The way that they lost that game and who they lost to from a momentum standpoint, that was a bad loss for the league. That was a bad loss for West Virginia fans. Just bad loss for everybody. I mean, that's a below average team that they lost to, and they just gave them the game. It was bad enough the way that Cincinnati lost the week before, 21 points. Yeah, it's I guess Pitt goes 2-0 against the Big 12 in dramatic fashion, and they're celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. So congrats.
Sitting pretty at 3-0 Pitt.
Yeah. The great resume: Kent State, Cincinnati, and West Virginia. So we'll see how they do at ACC play. Although the ACC sucks. I mean, with Florida State being as bad as they are, Miami's good. But Clemson's all right. I mean, but I mean, Pitt might be able to get back to a bowl game. I mean, when you're 3-0, you should be able to go 6-6. So we'll see if the Mountaineers can battle back and get to a bowl game. Not looking. Definitely have not done themselves any favors with the 1-2 start. Troy, I think that's a good transition to start our power rankings, and let's talk about our bottom tier teams. I'll let you lead it off. Who do you have in your bottom tier this week?
I moved Kansas all the way to 16. Even though I would have taken UNLV on that money line and took UNLV on the spread, I had sent my picks over to Ryan beforehand and ended up going 7-4 and 7-5-1. I actually went 7-4-2, but I had to take the line when those guys were picking the game in the Texas State game, and it was 2.5. But if you got it, it went from 2.5 on one side to 2.5 on the other, and then it saw 3 for a few minutes. And that was the last chance you had to get a push if you were on the Texas State side. But at 16, Kansas, I'm putting Cincinnati at 15. It was an okay win for them on the road at Miami of Ohio, but I still have to see a little bit more out of them. Colorado at 14, again, as soon as they play any team with any resemblance of a pass rush, they could be shit out of luck. And Colorado State is just not you don't really learn anything from playing them this year, I don't think. I mean, it's still an in-state rivalry. There's still a little bit of, there was some trash talk and some post-game bullshit and all that. But I'm not really buying it. I'm not really buying it from Colorado here. And then I put Texas Tech at, 13? I want to move them higher, but still looking at that Abilene Christian 1-point win. I'm going to have to see a big turnaround. We have seen their offense move the ball though. So there is at least still some hope that Texas Tech can, play like the Texas Tech of old and maybe sneak out like a 7-5 season or something like that by simply outgaining everyone they play and hoping that you make mistakes on offense.
So I had a lot of teams in my bottom tier, and I'll say this is the Big 12 pretender class. These are the teams that I'm not taking serious to win the Big 12. You laid it off. I have Kansas at 16. They haven't proven anything. They've lost a home game now. Their only wins over Lindenwood. 15 West Virginia. I hate doing that, but they haven't beat anybody, and their only wins against Albany, a watered down Albany team. You're 0-2 against the FBS. You lost to a below average ACC team now. I got to knock you down accordingly. 14, I have Houston. That was a good win over Rice, but just the way that they kind of got undressed against UNLV. They are getting better, but I will put them at 14. 13, I have Cincinnati because they were able to get a road win, but I still have a lot of question marks with Satterfield. At number 12, I got Arizona. I kind of been on this train the entire offseason that I think that they're overrated, too soft in the trenches to compete at the level that everybody was anticipating. And then at number 11, my final team in this tier is Colorado. I think that they're still fool's gold. They still have a lot of question marks up front. Colorado at number 11, Arizona at 12, and then Cincinnati, Houston, West Virginia, and Kansas. All these 6 teams have a ton of question marks, in my opinion, and haven't proven themselves yet.
I gave a little bit of a bump to Houston. I went with West Virginia at 12. Again, no FBS wins yet. I was kind of confused on how to rank them because I am, like I said last week, I'm a part of if Pitt's offense can kind of move the ball and with how good their defense typically is, I think they're going to be a competitor. I don't know if they'll win the ACC, but I think we're going to get to the 8th week of the year or something like that, and Pittsburgh's still going to be hanging around. Not necessarily because they are awesome. The ACC is not great. And we just saw them beat, what we would think was coming into the year, one of the top, I don't know, at least 6 or 8 teams in the Big 12. It feels like the ACC can be pretty similar to the Big 12. I mean, we still have hopes of a couple of teams that are higher up in our league that could be, actual playoff contenders. I would still think Clemson is the best in the ACC, and we saw them just get routed by Georgia. But I would also say a lot of the top teams in the Big 12 would look the same against a Georgia team that's just way too stacked. So I was a little confused on West Virginia. I did have to penalize them for no FBS wins, but I could see them slowly gaining their ground back up in league play. Right above West Virginia, I have Houston. Willie Fritz gets his win. Like I said earlier, hung around Oklahoma, kind of gave them a bump for a loss last week. Could be scary. I mean, they are probably 5 or 6 weeks away from maybe looking like, early on Tulsa and with the ability to get a little bit more talent. That could be a scary program, like we were talking about in a year and a half or 2 from now. Don't really want to give them any momentum, but they are starting. It seems like they've already got a little bit early on in the year. Right above them, I have TCU. Still think TCU's offense can move the ball. Again, like Texas Tech, I think they'll be able to just outscore a few teams and still sneak out. And I was actually going to put Baylor here, but I'm going to put Arizona below Baylor for the sake of maybe we'll motivate them. Maybe, I mean, if nothing else is working, why don't you just play jump ball to Tad McMillan as every third play? You might as well try it, huh? But then right above them, I have Baylor. So that would be W at what? 12, Houston at 11, TCU at 10, Arizona at 9, and Baylor at 8.
So my next tier
Something
is
like
so the previous tier 4 was the Pretenders, got big time issues. This one I'm like curious. Maybe they could get a little spark here. Maybe they can make a run in the Big 12 and get an 8-4 season if things break right. That is at number 10. I got Texas Tech. I thought that they finally looked like themselves. So I got the Red Raiders putting it on North Texas. I know they lost in Pullman, but Wazoo's pretty good, clearly. They beat Washington this weekend. At number 10, I got the TCU Horned Frogs. I think TCU, they do have a road win. They are 2-1. That was a heartbreaker. We're going to learn a lot about them this weekend, how they bounce back against SMU. But offensively, I like TCU a lot. It's just that defense with Sonny Dykes. So interested to see how they bounce back. At number 8, I got the Baylor Bears. Stay tuned. I kind of like Baylor this weekend, and I like what I'm seeing from this Baylor team with the chip on their shoulder. So that kind of rounds out the first half for me. 8 being Baylor, 9 TCU, 10 Texas Tech. I think this is the curious about these teams after seeing them 3 games in the non-con. Real quick, we'll talk about our tier 2 and then our tier 1. But first, we got to talk about Underdog Fantasy. You can use our specials and boosts on all flex entry. Get on over there to Underdog Fantasy and use our promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. We do not have a weekday game, so we'll look to Saturday. Stay tuned for our Underdog play this week. Just off the top of my head, they're not out yet for Saturday, but I'll probably get back. I'll probably back some of the Mountaineers, get this offense rolling against Kansas's defense, and then another smash spot probably would be maybe
if they drop early, I would take some of the Iowa State props after winning Cyhawk and getting the bye week, and then only playing Arkansas State. I think some of those props might be bangers.
I like it. Get on over there and stay tuned. Thursday, we'll give out our actual Underdog play. TCESGPN. All right, Troy. Let's talk tier 2 and tier 1. Who's your tier 2?
I actually think we've gotten to a point where this is now 3 tiers for me, the way that I went through it. All of these teams are tier 1, mostly because besides that most recent Kansas State game, there's not been a ton of separation from the top. The teams look like, if you execute well, you can pull an upset on some of these favorites in the league. But we'll start right away with BYU working themselves into the bottom of my top tier. Jay Hill defense, playing good football, sound fundamental, white boy football, get some Polynesians in there with the whites. And, they're soaking right now. BYU's feeling pretty good about themselves. Oh, man. Up above that, I have Arizona State, huge win in San Marcos, going on the road to play one of the better G5 teams and pulling it out at the end on the road. Again, pretty impressive to just eke that one out. Up above that, I have UCF, kind of just – what are they? They're 3-0 ATS, right? Yeah, well, I guess 2-0-1.
What number you got? Yeah.
Yeah, 2-0-1 if you got them at 1 point this past weekend. But UCF just quietly, out of all the previews that we did, that seems to be the most accurate on the they're just going to ground and pound you to death. And if you don't have the stamina, there's going to be late game run gashes that you're not prepared for. I guess we kind of nailed the Arizona State one too, saying that they could start off real hot, maybe even 5 or 6-0 going in, and that's still alive. Above UCF, I have Iowa State. I did move them down because I thought Utah, who's going to be at 3, performed pretty well in an in-state rivalry that again, you're not going to learn a lot about it, but you have a backup quarterback. You come in there and execute and win pretty easily. So those two are 4 and 3. Oklahoma State still at number 2. Can't punish them for smacking Tulsa. And K-State number 1 with I don't know if it was the most impressive win because I really liked Arizona State having the balls to go to San Marcos, but
yeah,
still a pretty impressive win for not necessarily a conference game, but a certain, welcome to the Big 12. These are the kind of ground and pound teams that we have at the top now. It's not necessarily spread them all out and chuck it around. But again, when we look back at that Tulsa game, I think we're going to give K-State more credit than we did right away, having to win in overtime on the road in Tulsa. That Tulsa team's going to win 9 or 10 games this year. That's a good fucking football team. I guess we'll find out with Oklahoma State and Utah which one of our top 3 or 4 is going to be the first to maybe drop a few spots.
We got a couple big ones this weekend. So I separated these 2 tiers. Tier 2, I think that they're contenders. In terms of I like what they've proven themselves in the non-con. They have an identity, and they seem to have a good locker room too, clearly, and well coached. So at number 7, I did have the BYU Cougars. I mean, the win at SMU, the win at Wyoming, back-to-back road wins. They play really good defense, sound football. You got to give them their props. At number 6, I went Arizona State. As good a non-con as anybody in this league. They're super athletic. They're talented. They're playing for Dillingham. I mean, I've been impressed with Arizona State. So they're at number 6. For me, at number 5, I went UCF. Still a little bit of question marks on the defensive side of the football, but hey, you get a road win to start Big 12 league play. They clearly have an identity. They're going to run the goddamn ball right down your throat, and they're super athletic and fast, and they're going to be hard for everybody to guard. I go up a level to the tier 1. Iowa State's at number 4 for me. Unbelievable win at Cy-Hawk. That's the best win so far in the Big 12. At number 3, I still have Oklahoma State. Not sold on their defense quite yet, but I think we're going to start seeing Ollie Gordon unleash here. I think they've been saving him for this Utah game. And I trust Mike Gundy. So they got to be at number 3, and they got to win over Arkansas. Number 2, I got Utah. Cam Rising will be coming back, it sounds like, this week. Defensively, they have an identity. They're going to play sound football. And at number 1, they've been number 1 for me the whole time. K-State, go to Tulane, find a way to win, come back, and just beat down Arizona. So Avery Johnson's getting better and better. This defense is good. They got an identity, clearly. They're going to run the ball, play good defense. Them and Utah are carbon copies of one another. Just one has a young, high upside quarterback. The other one has a 26-year-old, 8th-year quarterback that hopefully he stays healthy. So, and they both have really good coaches. But those are my tiers. I can't wait for this week. We'll look ahead to week 4. But I got to talk to you, about our own Bet US. We're brought to you by Bet US. Best bet with the best in the business. Bet US has been around for more than 30 years. Bet anywhere. Bet US has launched all new live betting experience, easily depositable, and get lightning fast payouts as well. Taking a look here. Early lines. I think I'm going to like Oklahoma State on Saturday. But stay tuned for the Thursday pick show. Get on over there to Bet US and use our link to use the sign-up code and get a 125% deposit bonus up to 3 deposits. How about that? Go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. Bet US, America's favorite sportsbook today. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Build your algorithm, build your model. Let's go, baby. I love Rhythm. Rhythm was all over. K-State -7 on Saturday night, and boy, was that a winner. So get on over there, build your model today. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpockets.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpockets.com/RITHMM. All righty, Troy. So looking ahead to week 4, we have 8 games on the schedule, 2 of which are non-con. The first one, the boring game, Arkansas State at Iowa State. Iowa State will roll that game. The Iron Skillet is on the schedule, man. Early line, TCU -2.5 at SMU. Could this maybe be the one where they finally get Sonny Dykes, maybe?
Possibly, and it is on the CW, so you're going to get some of the greatest coverage you've ever gotten in your life. Yeah, putting the Iron Skillet on the CW is pretty fucked up. This could be the first, but Sonny Dykes has never lost the Sonny Dykes Bowl, so I feel like until that happens, I don't know about the 2.5, but I think TCU would be able to squeak that one out.
You want the dumpster fire game? Here's a 2.5 point spread. In Morgantown, we talked about how down on these two teams we are. Hey, let's just put them against each other, and let's see who's really the dumpster fire after this week. So,
this is the gravity game, like the opposite of what goes up must come down. You match them up together. One of them has to go up after this game. So one of these teams has an opportunity to turn their season around, and the other one might be stuck. If they're stuck at 1-3, that could be rough. But yeah, I don't trust Kansas to go on the road right now. They couldn't even win at home against UNLV. Have not looked great. Turn the ball over. I feel like at that 2.5 number with a chance to win by a field goal, you might want to get on that. It might move more towards West Virginia with how dog shit we've seen Kansas look. And at least West Virginia's 2 losses have come to 3-0 teams, one of which will probably be in the running for the college football playoff at least a majority of the year. I guess Pitt technically could be in the running too. If they win the ACC, they could get an auto bid, which is hilarious. But
they're in contention.
Man, the 10:30 Kansas State at BYU is going to be sloppy. I have a feeling that one's going to be just,
this is the most underrated game of the weekend. This is going to be a good game.
Sure. Kansas State going on the road at night up there to Lavelle Edwards. We'll actually see. I mean, this is a game where if there was ever going to be a home field advantage for BYU, they're going to need it here. But the way that Kansas State plays football, I feel like Jay Hill's defense could probably slow them down enough to at least have an opportunity midway through the third quarter where you have your sideline thinking like, holy shit, we got a chance to win this one. Which when you have an offense with no confidence, sometimes you have to build that by just, dumbing the game down for the first half or the first 3 quarters. But man, that's going to be an interesting one. Everything could flip if BYU finds a way to win that game. We could be thinking the complete opposite. Utah favored by points on the road in Stillwater. You almost got to take those while you can, right?
Yeah, I think it might go to 3. To be honest, I think people love Utah. People are still down on OK State. Hey, I do want to make one quick point on the West Virginia Kansas game. Iowa State was 1-2 last year after the non-con, if you remember. Then so it was Oklahoma State, or they were 2-1. Then both of them caught fire. So there is going to be a team from that bottom tier that's going to start playing better. We'll see who it is. Maybe it's one of these 2 teams. Maybe it's Houston or Cincinnati. They hook up there in Cincinnati to start league play. That's an intriguing game. This is an intriguing game. Undefeated Arizona State going to Lubbock. I mean, does Cinderella finally strike midnight here?
Well, it doesn't seem like Vegas thinks so by favoring Texas Tech by 3. This one kind of scares me. I don't know if Arizona State has the ability to keep up. If Texas Tech's offense is executing well, they could theoretically just back-to-back road spots, and then but they didn't really slow down Texas State, and they probably should have lost the game to Texas State. So I would think that maybe this is clock striking midnight for Arizona State. Maybe this is a snap back to reality moment. But I mean, even if they lose this game by a touchdown, it's still proof that they're a significantly better team than they were given credit for by pretty much all of us coming into this year. Definitely an interesting spot. Also, it feels like they've been doing the opposite with Scatterbo as Gundy's been doing with Ollie Gordon and just fucking leaning on him as much as possible. Yeah. They don't really have another option. So you can't blame them for doing that, but you got to think with so many of these pound the rock style teams, you're going to need a little bit of depth to make it through the whole year. But, you know, total set at 60.5, Texas Tech by 3. That's kind of a game. I mean, if it follows those Vegas lines, that's a game that Arizona State, again, is going to have a chance to do what they did in San Marcos and, you know, just have a little late surge and maybe sneak by. And then you put up that Baylor, Colorado, didn't you?
This is such an intriguing game. This is why is Colorado not favored by more? Everybody's falling back in love with Colorado. They're only laying 2.5 against Baylor. Baylor's already gone on the road. I think sneak peek. I kind of like Baylor this weekend, man.
I was gonna say this line almost feels like wrong team favored still, but it's definitely moved down. If Colorado, even if they would have, you know, scored a few points and lost to Nebraska, this would be 5.5, and it would be one of the easier bets. 2.5 seems like
trap.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a trap.
And then this one. I mean, everybody's going to be on Utah. Nobody's going to be on the Cowboys.
Except us.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm already telling you right now I'll be on Oklahoma State.
I will be on the Cowboys on the money line.
Yeah, this is Utah's first road game or Big 12 road game. Oh yeah, I'll be all over Oklahoma State. I'm not gonna pretend like, hey, I'll give this one maybe out on Thursday. No, this one's already on my lock card. Oklahoma State will be at the top of my list. I can't wait for this game though. Gundy, Whittingham. It's going to be a fascinating game.
I do believe Cam is supposed to play.
Yeah, he's back. This won't be a sugar code win for Oklahoma State. They're going to have to beat Cam Rising.
The Sunday night football game, if you combine the age of the starting quarterbacks, they were, 44? And the combined age of quarterbacks in this Saturday college game is 49. Cam Rising was still born. He was born in May of 99. And he's got another year. He's got another year of eligibility.
And man, I have a lot of respect for Utah. I like Kyle Whittingham. They're not the same team on the road. So this is a big prove-it game. This is a big prove-it game for them. I mean, this is a top 15 road game. It's going to be physical. Both these teams, I can't wait for this game. It's going to be fascinating. So can't wait. We'll officially give out our picks on Thursday. We'll see how the lines move. But yeah, that's all I got. Troy, anything before we get up on out of here? Can't wait for Thursday.
I think I would also jump on the Houston plus 3.5 right now. I feel like that one's coming down. Yeah, I feel like that one closes under 3, maybe at 2.5, and there's a pretty big chance. Yeah,
coaching advantage there.
Coaching mismatch, big time.
Yeah, man. What if Willie Fritz starts 1-0, and then that seat gets right back hot in Cincinnati? All right, guys, that'll do it for this edition of the Big 12 College Experience. We will be back Thursday. Rush will be back. We'll break down this 8-game slate. I'm glad that we don't have to pick 15 games each week trying to guess on these 30-point lines. Now we can actually handicap spots. We know a little bit about these teams. Then we'll start kicking Kennedy's ass in the standings.
Start to see some non-vanilla play calls, please, dear God.
Yes. He's at Troy Chewning. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We're the Big 12 Experience. Coming up next here in about an hour, we got the head coach of George Washington, Chris Caputo, coming on. And Noah and I will be back later doing TCE Trim. And tonight's the pick show at 8:30 Eastern. So make sure you subscribe to all our channel. We all come together as one on youtube.com/the college experience. That's all I got. We'll see you guys Thursday, and we are out of here.